Welcome to the YouTube channel. Today we are going to discuss one more topic in developmental biology, that is events that occur during fertilization. Let us get started. The contents of today's topic are introduction, brief account of female reproductive system, brief account of spermatozoa, because all these things we have already discussed in earlier video lessons. Fertilization, structure of ovum, fertilization, capacitation of sperm, spermatozoan mobility, physical and chemical events during fertilization, recognition of egg and sperm, penetration of sperm, activation of ovum, amphimixis, prevention of polyspermia and formation of zygote. Okay, right. Today we are going to see all these things. Friends, you're all knowing very well that reproduction, especially the sexual reproduction, is a very, very important event for the continuous existence of reproduction. And for performing the sexual reproduction, several processes or several steps are to be taken. Formation of gametes, that is called gametogenesis, and fusion of gametes, that is called fertilization. Fusion of nuclei of both male sperm and female ovum, that is called amphimixis. Formation of zygote, cleavages, embryonic development, parturition. All these events must occur in order to continue the reproduction process. Our body is provided with two types of tissues, the germinal tissue and the somatic tissue. Germinal tissue is meant for perpetuation of our race, whereas the somatic tissue is meant for our own life, our own survival. And male and female individuals are looking different on their external shape and also having different gonads. So this kind of having different morphological characters between the two sexes is called sexual dimorphism. All those animals which perform sexual reproduction are acquainted with one very important thing, that is meiosis, the reduction division. Meiosis will maintain the chromosomal number, and the germ cells that are there in the gonads are going to develop the gametes, say the sperms in males and the ova in females. You know, in the earlier lesson we discussed about gametogenesis, the production of gametes, spermatogenesis and oogenesis, and the entire control on sexual reproduction is there with the hypothalamus, because hypothalamus secretes gonadotropin releasing hormones. And sexual reproduction plays a very, very important role in the exchange of characters of father and mother during the meiosis, that is called crossing over. Okay. Friends, this is the center where the entire development of embryo occurs. And this is called, what's the female reproductive system? A female reproductive system is having gonads called ovaries. A pair of ovaries is situated in the lower part of our abdomen, and the two ovaries are attached to the dorsal body wall with the help of mesovarium. Mesovarium firmly attaches the ovary onto the dorsal body wall of female. Okay, and this is ovary, and this is entire structure is called oviduct. The oviduct of female is further divided into fallopian tube, uterus, and vagina. The fallopian tubes are the main centers of fertilization. Fertilization, especially in mammals, occur in the fallopian tubes. Each fallopian tube, there are two fallopian tubes. Each fallopian tube is further divided into an infundibulum, an ampulla, and a very, very narrow passage that is known as isthmus. So, isthmus, ampulla, and infundibulum are the three very important parts of fallopian tube. The two fallopian tubes merge to form a very wide sac-like structure in the middle that is known as uterus. And uterus is accommodating the embryo and performing the entire embryonic development. The intrauterine embryonic development is called gestation. The wall of uterus, you see, is provided with three layers: perimetrium, myometrium, and endometrium. Endometrium is going to supply the nourishment to the entire embryo. Myometrium is responsible for expansion and accommodating the growing embryo. Okay, And then the uterus is having a narrow canal that is called cervical canal or birth canal, and it opens into a tube-like structure called vagina that opens outside. So this is a brief account of reproductive system because entire fertilization happens here. Fertilization of ovum with the sperm occurs in ampulla. For that purpose, we are knowing these details. Okay. Then, for the fertilization, two gametes are needed. One is called the male gamete sperm, and the other is the female gamete ovum. Let us have a brief learning about the sperm. Spermatozoa are the male gametes. Many spermatozoa are liberated by the male partner during ejaculation, but these spermatozoa are produced by a process called spermatogenesis in the seminiferous tubules by the influence of certain hormones, namely the androgens, testosterone, and pituitary secretes LH and FSH. FSH will stimulate the Sertoli cells for the nourishment purpose and for controlling the spermatogenesis also. And the onset of spermatogenesis occurs with the help of testosterone secreted by the Leydig cells. Leydig cells are influenced by LH or ICSH, interstitial cell stimulating hormone. Friends, a mature sperm is having very important parts. It is called head, and this is called neck. This is middle piece and tail. The tail has end-sheathed part called main piece and naked part called end piece. Head is the very important part because it accommodates the entire genetic material of father. This is the nucleus, and very minimum amount of cytoplasm is there. On one top of the head in the anterior side, there is a cap having acrosome. This acrosome is consisting of a lot of enzymes. They dissolve the egg membranes and allow the penetration of sperm. There is plasma membrane, and there are centrioles, very important structures of sperm that play a very important role in the cleavages of egg or centrioles. There is a proximal centriole. This is necessary for the formation of spindle fiber in the ovum, and there is distal centriole needed for the secretion of or formation of the tail, and there is a ring centriole. The function of ring centriole is not known, and the middle piece is accommodating a spiral mitochondrial network. That this will provide the energy for the motility of the sperm. Sperm is very small. It is only 0.05 millimeters. We cannot see it with our naked eye, whereas the egg is 30 times bigger than the sperm. Okay, sperm moves. The motility of the sperm is very less, millimeters per second, and sperm can live for 24 hours to 48 hours. Maximum 3 days also when a sperm is attached to the isthmus wall. And the sperm gets capacity to fertilize ovum by a process called capacitation that occurs in the female genital tract by the secretions of female genital tract within 5 to 6 hours after ejaculation. And you see in the ejaculated semen, 200 to 300 millions of sperms are there, but it will become fertile only when the liberated sperms, at least 60% of the liberated sperms are having normal shape, head, middle piece and tail, and out of the 60%, if at least 40% of the sperms, if they are having normal motility, then they can swim within the genital tract and can reach ovum for fertilization. If acrosome is good with the enzymes, then it is having the capacity to fertilize the ovum. That is called capacitation. That's about sperms. And what about the ova? Ova production is called oogenesis, and oogenesis actually begins when the female is in embryonic stage. So for completing the formation of ova, it will take a lot of time, 10 years to 50 years of time. It begins in the embryonic development of the female. The cells what are formed during that time are called oogonia. Oogonia are 2 millions actually formed, but most of them get degenerated, and only 60,000 to 80,000 oogonia remain when the woman reaches to the puberty, and no more oogonia are formed after birth. All the oogonia were formed only before birth. And if you see the ovary, as in the earlier slide we have seen the female reproductive system, This is the mesovarium, and this is entire ovary. Ovary is having cortical region and middle medulla region, and a germinal epithelium and the protective cover called tunica albuginea. And in the cortical region, if you can observe carefully, different stages of follicle development you can see here. These are primordial germ cells. They form primary follicles, and there is a oocyte here, primary oocyte, surrounded by cuboidal cells. Cuboidal cells increase in layers, so that is forming what is that called, remember, granulosa layer. And the oocyte, primary oocyte, now develops a layer called zona pellucida, corona radiata, and cumulus oophorus. These are the layers surrounding the primary oocyte. And as a result of the secretion of estrogen by the inner theca cells, it completes its meiosis 1, because oocyte was arrested in meiosis 1 prophase 1, and by the release of estrogen at the time of puberty within this follicle, now the oocyte completes its meiosis 1 and will become secondary oocyte. And you will notice the formation of a fluid filled cavity that is called antrum. Presence of antrum and presence of a small, what is that called, polar body, indicating that the primary oocyte has become secondary oocyte. Friends, the ovum is liberated at secondary oocyte level. In the secondary oocyte, only one meiosis is completed, second meiosis is awaited for the entry of the sperm. So ovum has completed only one meiosis, that we need to understand, and it has not completed the second meiosis. Second meiosis will be completed only after the entry of sperm, and that process is called activation of ovum. Okay, after the ovum is secreted, the rest of ruptured follicle will become corpus luteum and secretes progesterone for maintaining the healthy status of endometrium. So these are all the different stages: primary follicle, primordial follicles, primary follicles, secondary follicles, so like that. And the layers around the ovum are, what is that, zona pellucida, so perivitrilline space, zona pellucida, corona radiata, like that. Next, okay. Now this is called oogenesis. Say primary oocytes are there, oogonia are there. Oogonia undergo mitosis to become primary oocytes. Primary oocytes will start meiosis, okay, and meiosis will be completed only at puberty, and sperm entry occurs. After the entry of the sperm, the second meiosis continues and completes. So this is a very, very important thing that we need to understand. Entry of the sperm is a very, very important event in completing the second meiosis. Okay, if you can see the secondary oocyte, it looks like this with only one polar body. But if you see a fertilized ovum, so fertilized ovum has the entry of the sperm, which causes the completion of the second meiosis, so that three polar bodies are seen. When three polar bodies are seen, it is called ooted. Okay. Now, fertilization is a very, very important event, and it is the junction actually for one individual to the other individual. It's a very important phenomenon. It is nothing but the fusion of male and female gametes. Male gamete is called sperm and the female gamete is called ovum. Fertilization may be external or internal. When the fusion of gametes occur outside the body of mother, then it is called external fertilization. You will see the external fertilization in fishes and in amphibians. Internal fertilization is a very important phenomenon in which the sperms are introduced into female body by a process called insemination. Insemination is a process through which the sperms are injected or inserted or introduced into the female body or female reproductive tract. Okay, so internal fertilization is having more security or more probability of fertilization or more probability of fusion of gametes. Okay, so in the case of external fertilization, many number of sperms are liberated and chances of fusion of gametes is very less, and several other constraints are also there, predators are also there, and water quality, several factors affect the external fertilization. Also several internal environmental factors help in internal fertilization. 2 million sperms are ejaculated or inseminated, but only 200 sperms can reach the ovum, because where is ovum? Ovum has settled in the ampullary region. In the ampullary region. Once it liberated from the ovary and it is taken by the fimbriae and infundibulum, and ovum reached the ampullae of the fallopian tube and waiting for the entry of the sperm to come. Sperms are liberated in vagina, and from that portion they have to move towards the ovum. It's the duty of the sperms to go to the ovum. That's why 200 millions of sperms when ejaculated, all sperms may not reach the site of the ovum, only at maximum 200 sperms can reach, because the motility of the sperm plays a very important role, and the secretions of female genital tract plays a very important role. Okay, the chemicals what are released by ovum to attract the sperms are also playing a very important role. The shape of the sperm, the motility of the sperm, or the healthy nature of the sperm, all these are playing a very important role to reach the ovum by a sperm. Fertilization is a process in which the two haploid gametes unite to form a diploid zygote. Okay, and during the gametogenesis, the chromosome number is cut to half, and the half gametes fuse to form one full gamete, one full in organism. So the chromosomal number gets restored by this very important process. Fertilization significance is that one. Next, the sperm and egg contact with one another by several signals. The recognition of sperm, the recognition of egg by sperm, or the recognition of sperm by egg, both are very important and crucial. Because if you see the external fertilization case, in a very small pool of water, the sperms of many species may be liberated. Okay, the sperm of one species will come close to the egg of the other species. So to prevent such kind of fertilization between the two different species, recognition is playing a very important role. So egg and sperm get contact with one another with some special receptors, with some special chemicals. Okay, sperms swim to reach the egg because the egg secretes certain attractive substances, and the movement of sperm we can say as chemotaxis, because two fallopian tubes are there, one is left one and the other one is right one. Egg may be there in any fallopian tube. Okay, moving towards that tube is a very important phenomenon. So that's why it is called the chemotaxis. Okay, and during the fertilization, another very important event is that the two genetic materials, father and mother, get combined with one another. So union of genetic material is a very important event, and all these things occur to form a diploid structure called zygote. Okay, and moreover, one thing we need to understand that when sperm is formed, most of the cytoplasm is shed off. Sperm doesn't have any many materials that are needed for the growth of the ovum. Ovum is storing all those materials that are needed for the further development. RNAs, proteins, all those things. So all these things let us see in the next slides. The first and foremost event that will occur after insemination, after the sperms enter the female genital tract, sperms must get activated, and this process is called capacitation. The female reproductive tract is playing a very important role in making the sperms able to fertilize the ovum. This process is called capacitation. So wave-like contractions of female genital tract, especially uterus, guides the sperm to go towards that particular site. And the epithelial secretory cells of female genital tract are secreting some unknown chemical substances. These chemical substances, the enzymes, the proteins, the other materials, so remove certain parts of receptor blockers on sperms. When the receptor blocking agents are removed, then the sperm is able to recognize the egg. Okay, the physical and the physiological changes that allow the sperm to be competent to fertilize the egg is called capacitation. Sperm becomes competent to fertilize the egg by a process called capacitation. And this capacitation occurs within the female genital tract in the course of time, that is 5 to 6 hours after the insemination. The sperms that are not capacitated are held up in the tumulus ovorus around the ovum. They may not be able to penetrate because they are blocked with certain proteins. The receptors of sperm are blocked, or the cholesterol layer is not removed, or the what is that called, the diffusibility of the plasma membrane is not moderated. So that's why the sperms which are not capacitated may not be able to penetrate the ovum. Different sperms are having different survival rates depending on their location in the tract. Okay, as I mentioned, 24 hours to 48 hours, but some sperms can survive for 3 days, 72 hours also. So when sperms get attached to the female genital tract, they are not capacitated. When they are not capacitated, their what is that called, their lifespan will be increased. Okay, when their lifespan will be increased. Many of the sperms reach the site of fallopian tube ampulla, but egg is not released. You just suppose egg is not liberated. That's all the sperms which go to that particular site may not do anything. They'll die after 24 hours or after 48 hours. And if the egg is liberated by that time, those sperms which are attached to the female genital tract and not capacitated will be capacitated now. Okay, then they go and fertilize the ovum. So many mechanisms are there for during the process of fertilization. We are going to discuss all these things with this short span of time. Okay, for capacitation of sperm, very important 4 sets of molecular changes will occur. Number 1, the fluidity of sperm plasma membrane. The fluidity, that means the plasma membrane allows some materials, doesn't allow some materials. So this is called fluidity. The fluidity of sperm plasma membrane is altered by removing the cholesterol by the albumins of female genital tract. The female genital tract secretes certain albumins. These albumins contact the sperm and removes the cholesterol that is present in the plasma membrane. As the plasma membrane cholesterol is removed, the fluidity of the plasma membrane will increase so that it can receive some materials, it can send out some materials. This is a very, very important first step of molecular changes during capacitation of sperm. The second one, the proteins, carbohydrates that block the receptors on the surface of the sperm are lost. A sperm is having receptor to recognize the egg. Okay, and this receptor is blocked because while producing the sperms in male reproductive system, all the receptors are inactivated by closing or masking with certain proteins. Removal of these proteins is essential, and this removal of masking proteins occur in the female genital tract by certain molecular changes. This is the second event. First event is increasing the fluidity of plasma membrane of sperm. The second one is unmasking the proteins that are covering the receptors. Okay, and the fourth event is also very, very important. The membrane potential becomes more negative. The sperm membrane potential becomes more negative when it enters into female genital tract by losing potassium. The entire potassium will go out, so that hyperpolarization occurs. As the membrane potential becomes less than -70, the calcium channels of the sperm plasma membrane get open so that the calcium goes inside. When calcium enters into the sperm, this calcium along with certain other materials, okay, adenosine monophosphate like that, so they combine with one another and forms the second messenger, cyclic AMP, and this cyclic AMP induces certain enzymatic actions, and these enzymatic actions make the sperm competent to fertilize the ovum. And this is the third event. First, the fluidity of the plasma membrane is altered. Second, unmasking of the proteins over the receptors of the sperm to recognize the ovum. The next one, the electric potential of the sperm plasma membrane is becoming more negative to allow the calcium to come inside. The calcium ions, after entering into the cytoplasm of sperm, will change certain things to make the sperm capacitate. And the fourth one that is also very, very important is the protein phosphorylation occurs. Phosphorylation of protein that is needed for the capacitation, which also occurs. So these four events, molecular events, changing of the permeability of plasma membrane, then clearing the masking proteins on receptors, changing the potential, allow the calcium ions to increase form the cyclic AMP, and the phosphorylation of proteins occur. The incapacitated sperms, as I mentioned earlier, will bind or attach it to the female genital tract and wait for their turn to come. So, if already egg gets fertilized, they are not capacitated. If egg is not fertilized and all the sperms around the egg are died, these are capacitated and they are allowed to go to the egg to fertilize. So, chances of fertilization will be increased by this mechanism. Very, very intelligent chemical or molecular activity. The capacitation of sperm, some more details. Incapacitated sperms, as I mentioned, incapacitated sperms bind to the walls of the tract so that their lifespan will be extended for one more day. Lifespan can be extended to one more day. And this restriction will serve two functions. Because some of the sperms are attached to the female genital tract or not allowed to go to the egg. The first function is, so many of the sperms are blocked to go to the sperm to prevent polyspermy. Okay, if all the sperms go in the vicinity of the egg, there are more chances of polyspermy. So polyspermy can be prevented by incapacitation. And the second one is, so incapacitation of certain sperms allows the increase in the probability of fertilization. If egg is not released by the time of sperm ejaculation, many sperms will go to the ampulla, but there is no egg. So that they wait for one day and they will die. By the time if egg comes, these incapacitated sperms will go and fertilize. See how beautifully the regulation of the sperm and egg is there in the female genital tract and induced by the female genital tract itself. So, for capacitation of sperm, the female genital tract is playing a very, very, very important role. If the female genital tract is healthy, then there are more chances of conception. Right. The sperm mobility, let us see sperm mobility. Recently, an article is published about the sperm mobility that the sperms will never swim like anything. The sperms are moving in a spiral way because the tail will be beaten at only one side so that the sperm is rolling on its own axis. Okay, anyway, the sperm is swimming and moving. The movement of sperm is also regulated by the female genital tract by secreting or by making peristaltic movements or by certain other chemical signals. Okay, the movement is very, very slow, millimeters per second only. Okay, the muscular contractions of the walls of uterus, oviducts, secretions of fluids by mucosa, and they move towards the fallopian tube where egg is there. I mentioned once again, there are two fallopian tubes, but egg is liberated at only one fallopian tube. How the sperms recognize, how the sperms make a turn towards the source of the egg is only chemotaxis. It is only by chemotaxis. The egg secretes certain fertilizins. These fertilizins attract the sperms because the sperms are having certain receptors. So, molecular events are very, very important in understanding the process of fertilization, and the sperm is provided with the energy components called mitochondria, powerhouses of the sperm. Mitochondria, they provide energy for the swimming purpose or for the moving purpose. Okay. Certain physicochemical changes that occur during fertilization, we need to discuss that in this slide. Okay, what are the physicochemical changes that occur in sperms? The first one, you see this is the spermatid. From the spermatid, spermiogenesis occurs, formation of sperm occurs, spermiogenesis. And you see the spermatid is having a lot of cytoplasm. But there is no cytoplasm, very less amount of cytoplasm in sperm. So what has happened? Most of the cytoplasm is shed off. So this is one physical event. Most of the cytoplasm is shed off. And then the second physical event is that its shape of the nucleus gets changed to streamline shape. So for the penetration purpose, streamline shape is offering less resistance or having less friction. This is a very, very important thing. Nucleus gets streamlined and DNA will be tightly packed. DNA will be tightly packed in the sperm and nucleus gets streamlined. The Golgi, you see here Golgi, the Golgi of the spermatid gradually modifies as acrosome and stores acrosomal vesicle, and in which enzymes that are needed for penetration are stored. That's a very, very important chemical event. Okay, and then nearby this what is that? A globular actin is present. This globular actin, actin and myosin muscle contraction proteins, such globular actin proteins, they form microtubules. They form the microtubules, and these microtubules help a lot in the formation of spindle fibers in the egg after fertilization. And the whipping of flagellum to move the sperm will be done by the axoneme, and you know very well this axoneme is having the structure of 9+2 arrangement. 9 peripheral doublets are there and 2 central singlets are there, and the the doublets, 9 doublets, each doublet is having 2 microtubules. One is called A and the other one is called B. One tubule is having 13 filaments and the other one is having only 11 filaments. A small difference is there. And dynein arms are there. These dynein arms are the centers of ATPase, and they activate ATP and they release energy ATP, so that all the 9 peripheral tubules, slide over one another by taking the support from the central tubules, and they make undulation movements. The undulation movements of the tail, because the tail is having the exact equal structure to that of a flagellum, and all the filaments are made up of tubulin, a protein, tubulin, and dynein arms are there, energy packets, and all these help in the movement of the sperm. Okay, that is the mobility of the sperm. So chemical, physical changes are events that occur in every process of fertilization. Let us see the egg, what changes that happen in the egg. The materials what are needed for the growth of embryo got stored in this egg in the form of yolk. Okay, all the materials what are needed are stored. That's why egg is having 30 times larger size to the size of sperm, because it is having all the required materials. Sperm doesn't have much materials except having the genetic material which is tightly packed, the DNA. So here the oocytes are storing all those materials. Oocyte synthesizes these materials, or oocyte absorbs these materials from its surroundings. More ribosomes are there and more transfer RNAs are there. These are needed for protein synthesis, and 25,000 to 50,000 times of mRNA, 25,000 to 50,000 mRNA molecules are there. These mRNA molecules are already transcribed in the mother. You see, already mother is transcribing the mRNA of those proteins which are needed for the growth of the embryo and get packed in ovum. That is really a very, very great thing to understand. Egg may synthesize some materials, but already from the mother, lot of materials are concentrated here. Okay, and the egg is also having molecules that direct the differentiation. Let me see. Okay, so egg is also storing the molecules that direct the differentiation of the cells after cleavages. After the cleavage, several cells are formed, and each cell has to differentiate into a particular tissue. Okay, so for differentiating, there are some factors needed, molecules needed. These molecules are already stored in egg. Okay, why the egg cytoplasm is more? Egg cytoplasm is more because it is accommodating all the needy particles and molecules for further growth and development. Okay, so differentiating factors are there, more ribosomes are there, more mRNA, already mother synthesized mRNA particles are there, and ultraviolet filters are there, ultraviolet filters. These ultraviolet filters will give protection from ultraviolet rays, and there are DNA repairing genes. The DNA repairing enzymes are there. So all these are equipped within the ovum. Okay, and certain proteins are there. It is very interesting to know. Certain proteins are there, certain materials are there in the egg which are distasteful to its predator. So that in the external fertilization, whenever egg is liberated, the eggs will be distasteful to their predators. That's why predators won't come and eat. Okay, won't come and consume. Even in certain eggs, there are antibodies to prevent the infection of bacteria. What not? Everything is there in egg. Okay, egg is having growth factors, egg is having differentiating factors, egg is having mRNA molecules, more ribosomes, tRNA, and what is that? Ultraviolet screen is there, and DNA repairing enzymes are there, distasteful materials, antibodies. These are the physicochemical changes that are helping the fertilization process, and this is the very, very important thing. And around the egg, there is a very, very strong vitelline envelope with 8 glycoproteins to recognize the sperm. You see, there is a vitelline membrane, and in this vitelline membrane, of course, here it is. So it is having certain glycoproteins. These glycoproteins are receptors, antigens and antibody, antigens especially. So they are useful for attachment of the sperm or the recognition of the sperm. And around the egg there is a very hard layer called zona pellucida, and around zona pellucida there is corona radiata, and after that there is cumulus ophorus. Okay, zona pellucida, corona radiata, and cumulus ophorus or cumulus layer, we can say. So egg jelly is there. Egg jelly is present around the egg and to attract the sperm. Okay, recognition of egg and sperm. You see here, a sperm is moving towards the outer layer of the egg. This is a cumulus layer, and this is zona pellucida. This is inner part of the egg. Now you see the sperm comes and touches the cumulus layer, and it penetrates the cumulus layer by secreting corona penetrating enzyme and touches the what is that called, zona, and the zona gets penetrated by the secretion of an enzyme called hyaluronidase, an enzyme, so that the zona can be penetrated, because the zona is having certain proteins, ZP3, ZP2 proteins are there. These proteins are needed for the recognition of sperm. Okay, when it attaches to a receptor, the receptor will give signal to the sperm whether to allow or not to allow. Okay, so receptors are there, and then it penetrated what is that called zona pellucida with the help of hyaluronidase, and then the plasma membrane of sperm get fused with the plasma membrane of egg, ovum plasma membrane fused with the sperm plasma membrane, so that the nucleus is going inside the ovum. Sperm reached the egg, penetrated corona, and touched the zona, penetrated the zona by secreting what is that enzymes of acrosine, that is called acrosome reaction. Zona is penetrated, and after that fusion of plasma membrane occurs, and after the sperm goes inside, then zona reaction occurs, and zona secretes some chemical substances. Zona reduces the electrical potential, and all these changes will not allow other sperm to go into penetrate the egg. Okay, now chemoattraction of the sperm by secreting soluble fertilizants. So soluble fertilizants are secreted by the egg to attract the sperm. Exocytosis of what is that, acrosomal secretions, and sperm binds to zona. Several receptors are there. When receptors get activated, then it is allowed to go inside. Fusion of plasma membrane occurs, and the fertilizability of the sperm is there within 12 to 24 hours. and it can survive for 3 days also. And zona proteins, which are named as ZP2, ZP3, are responsible for the recognition of sperm. Now you see another diagram. The sperm comes very close towards the animal pole. This here nucleus is there and nucleus later came here like this. So this is called animal pole. Let us suppose this is animal pole. Sperm comes and attaches to animal pole. And after it get attached to the animal pole, acrosome reaction occurs. Acrosin, corona penetrating enzymes, and what is that called? Whatever enzymes are there, those enzymes are liberated. The jelly coat attracts the sperms, and the jelly coat will be dissolved, and the sperm goes and binding to the receptors on zona. This is called ZP3, ZP2. Now it is attached to the protein receptor. When protein receptor recognizes the sperm, then it allows the zona gets penetrated. Fusion of the plasma membrane occurs. The nucleus goes inside, and the pronucleus of male sperm and pronucleus of egg both come close together. Mixture occurs. This is called amphimixis. Only the nuclear material get mixed with one another, but perfect pairing doesn't occur. Perfect pairing in mammals occur during the cleavages, during the first cleavage. Okay, so just amphimixis occurs, that's all. Both the materials get mixed up, but pairing is necessary. First chromosome of father with first chromosome of mother, second with the second, third with the third, X with Y, X with X. So such pairing of chromosomes occur only during the cleavages, first cleavage or second cleavage. First cleavage means 2D. When the zygote becomes 2D, that means two cells. Then only in that cell you will find the pairing of father and mother chromosomes, not in the zygote. So a little bit knowledge is needed to understand. A lot of papers are publishing on this. You go through that. Okay. Acrosome secretes corona penetrating enzyme hyaluronidase, dissolves the mucus, sperm enters the cytoplasm of egg, and once the sperm enters inside, all the cortical agents what are there will go outside and cause prevention of polyspermy. This is called cortical reaction. The cortical granules go outside and cause prevention of polyspermy. So next step is activation of ovum. When when sperm nucleus goes inside, okay, it is having what is that called centriole, proximal centriole, and this centriole allows the secondary oocyte to perform its meiosis II and secrete polar body. So this process of initiating or what is that called resuming the meiosis II by the ovum is called activation of sperm. So the entry of the sperm can cause lot of changes in the cortex and cytoplasm of egg, and the secondary oocyte completes its meiosis II and polar bodies are formed, and now ovum with nucleus is formed. That is called pronucleus of female is formed. As I mentioned, amphimixis is simply mixing of two germplasms. It will restore the diploid status. Intermingling of paternal and maternal heredity occurs, but actual pairing is seen after the first cleavage. So a very important thing that every egg has to follow is prevention of polyspermy. When many sperms enter inside, it is really a disastrous thing and will lead to a dire consequence. Okay, so to prevent polyspermy, the animals, especially the mammals, have evolved two very important processes. To prevent polyspermy, two very important processes have been evolved. One is called an immediate block, that is called fast block. Fast block of entry of sperms into the egg. And the second is a very slow block. So there are two events. One is called fast block and the other one is called slow block. How is the fast block occurs? Soon after the entry of the sperm, the egg membrane potential, resting potential of the egg membrane is -70. So -70 membrane potential is now depolarized to become plus 20. Minus 20 means allowing the sperm to come. Sperms will come into the egg only when the resting potential is there. But after the entry of the sperm, maybe sodium ion influx occurs and depolarization occurs and the membrane potential changes to positive plus 20. And this change of the potential doesn't allow all other sperms to penetrate. So it's a very quick reaction, a very quick action of preventing polyspermy, but it is temporary. Having what is depolarization is a very, what is that called? It occurs only in milliseconds. Maximum it may be there for 1 minute. After the 1 minute, resting potential will be restored. There is the possibility for the entry of other sperms. So it is only a very fast block and it can exist only for 1 minute. And what is the second one? The second block, that is slow block of entry of other sperms. When one sperm entered into the egg, all other sperms must be prevented from entering. Okay. First block is the fast block in which the depolarization or changing of the potential, membrane potential occurs, but it will not last for longer period. It will last for only 1 minute. And after 1 minute, what happens? After 1 minute, the cortical granules, what are there inside the egg, will go outside and along with calcium ions, along with certain enzymes, along with certain materials, they block the sperms and they coat the entire egg with a very, very strong substance called hyaline substance. Let us see. The cortical granules, after the entry of the sperm, the cortical granules fuse with the plasma membrane and release proteins. What are the proteins? Proteases, mucopolysaccharides, peroxidases, and a hyaline substance. Proteases, proteases will dissolve the protein of other sperms, and mucopolysaccharides may be covering the receptor sites, masking the receptor sites of the sperms. Peroxidases will not allow the sperm to take oxygen, and hyaline is a very, very hard substance that is forming coat around the egg. So now the fertilizing membrane is formed. Once the fertilizing membrane is formed, no other sperm can enter the ovum, the zygote. Okay, and this is very, very important thing. And certain materials, slow block is a very slow block. You see here, all the sperms which are there in surrounding area of the egg are now agglutinated with one another with the help of these granules. Sperm motility. The motility of the sperm got agglutinated with the help of these attaching structures, so that what is that? A clot of sperm occurs. The sperms get clot with one another, so that the motility is affected, polyspermy is prevented. Certain molecules will modify the sperm receptors on zona ZP2, ZP3 are modified. As a result of that, sperms cannot recognize the egg. Calcium and agglutinates will be secreted. So these are the mechanisms, very, very easy to understand. Fast block by changing the membrane potential, slow block by secreting the proteases, mucopolysaccharides, peroxidases, and a very hard substance called hyaline, agglutinins. All these will not allow other sperms to enter, thereby preventing the polyspermy. Okay. So what are the events? Let us see. First, this is the secondary oocyte. Secondary oocyte having only one polar body. Now sperm entered, entry of the sperm, allowing the secondary oocyte to perform the division. Secondary oocyte completed its meiosis 2. 3 polar bodies are there indicating ovum has become ooted. So this is the male pronucleus, this is the female pronucleus. Both the pronuclei come together. This is called amphimixis. After the amphimixis, zygote is formed. But pairing of chromosomes of father and mother occur on the metaphase of first cleavage. So you will find the pairing of the chromosomes after the first cleavage in the two cells. So these are the events that are very, very important in the formation of zygote and in the occurrence of fertilization. What is fertilization actually? Fertilization results in two functions. One is the combining the genes of two parents and the production of an individual. So two very important events. Maternal and paternal chromosomes with a lot of mutations and modifications come close together by an event called fertilization. And as a result of fertilization, an individual is born. These are the two very important outcomes of fertilization. And fertilization will also help to contact recognition, sperm entry regulation, fusion and activation of egg. Contact recognition is a very, very important thing, and which is also a topic of interest for cancer studies. Capacitation of sperm during the fertilization, we need to learn about capacitation, how sperms get activated, what are the molecular things or what are the markers, and eggs attract the sperm by secreting some molecules. What are those molecules? What is their nature? Acrosomal reaction, Jora reaction, cortical reactions. Okay, all these occur during the fertilization, and fertilization also blocks polyspermy. Okay, activation of egg occurs, amphimixis of materials occur, zygote is formed, and further it will proceed to the divisions of zygote, that is called cleavages. Friends, you might have understood the very, very important event in the developmental biology, that is fertilization. Okay, hope you have understood this one, and we will meet in the next lesson discussing about types of eggs and types of cleavages. Thank you. Thank you for watching.